All right, we're going to get... It's like the Tasmanian devil trying to talk and make a video. It's just beyond my capability. All right, time now for what's in the box. We've got some Miley products here. Molly, I think it is. Made in Thailand. Got some German writing on it. Kit 0140330110. This is the subframe mount kit for an R107. And Mercedes part is, I don't know, it's like 300 bucks, 350, something like that. And I was like, nah, I just can't pull that trigger, man. So, yeah, I found this on Autohaus AZ, however you pronounce it, for 50 bucks. Yeah. Has that typical Asian rubber smell. Go to Walmart, smell the tires on a bicycle, made in China. They all have that funky smell. If you're younger, no, rubber does not smell like that. It's not supposed to smell like that. Never has. That's just the way they manufacture it over there on the other side of the planet. They, in my opinion, they do something, or they don't do something, to remove the last vestige of whatever chemicals are used in the production process. And for several weeks, new rubber products from that part of the world, they outgas this funky smell, and it lingers, but it dissipates after a while. Now, if you know better about all of that, comment down below. Let me know if I'm wrong, but that's just my opinion. So anyway, if you go buy some USA made rubber, it doesn't have the smell. It's just rubber. Anyway, got 4 mounts here. They look good. The rubber's, it's not cracked. It's nice and rigid. I don't know. It feels good. Looks good. I already opened this up and got the parts out of the baggie. We have all kinds of stuff here. We got 4 rubber washers. We got 4 of these metal ones. We got some, let's see, we got 4 clips. And we have 4 of these things here, which is what the bolts screw into. And we got some, we got lock washers. And we have 4 of these plastic little bushing things. So I'll have to take a look at the ones on the car over there when we get ready to pull it apart to see how the stuff goes back together clearly. But there you go, Molly subframe bushing kit on sale, Autohaus AZ, 50 bucks, not too shabby. Anyway, let's move on and see what we can do about removing the front coil springs on our R107. Man, I'm looking forward to that. Not really. All right, welcome back, everyone. Let's go ahead and see what we can do to take all this front suspension nonsense apart. You may recall in the previous video, I erroneously removed that bolt instead of the brake caliper bolt. So let's just get after this thing. What reckless abandon. There we go. Good old Stanley. Screwdriver? Yes. Cold chisel? Absolutely. There we go. All right, we're gonna put that underneath the bench. All right, let's go ahead and loosen this upper ball joint a little bit. I don't think that'll do much, but never can tell. 19 millimeter. All right, got my breaker bar here. I'm gonna put my usual pipe on it to facilitate the loosening action here. I might have to put it on the other side. How am I going to keep that from spinning while I do the thing? All right, I got a hammer wedged in there pretty good. That should do the trick. Get our wrench situated here with our cheater bar. Let's see how well we do here. It wasn't even tight. It wasn't even tight. That's just ridiculous. All we need is just a little space there so that when we rap on that with a hammer, the entire suspension system flies apart, and because that's going to fly off anyway. But no, it's not going to happen that way. All right, we got a heavy duty strap. I got this thing wrapped around here like 5 times and tied off there, so we should be fine. That's just a little love tap. Not moving. Okay, figures it would happen off camera. So I came in at this angle, which is dead on right there with the punch and the hammer, and hit it a few times. And you can see our gap is now gone between the nut and the top of the knuckle, or whatever you want to call it. So this is loose from the ball joint taper now. All right, change of plans. Once again, I have dispensed with the cheap Harbor Freight valve spring compressor tool, and in lieu of another cheap one that I got on Amazon, which is shaped more like a big C-clamp. And we're going to try that. It's supposed to arrive this afternoon, so I'm going to put the heads aside for now, and I'm going to pick back up on the control arm, because I started thinking better of the way I was doing this earlier, which was completely wrong. And I read the book. You don't disconnect the lower control arm from the spindle end. You disconnect it from the inboard end here at where the lower control arm mounts to the subframe. The idea is here is you put a support underneath this thing, and you take these bolts out here, and then you lower it. Sketchy? I'm not lying. Mercedes wrote it, and I've seen another guy on YouTube do it, so it must be true. No, for real, it is. It's fully documented in the Mercedes service manual. It just never occurred to me that this would be the proper way to do it. And the reason why I started reading the book finally was because I could not find a spring compressor to fit this coil spring. The coils, even fully extended, the coils are like that far apart, and there's no room in there at all. None. They do make a coil spring compressor for this car, but I don't want to buy it. The service manual does say, it says if you don't have the tools to do it this way, go ahead and put coil spring compressor model number blah blah in there, and then modify your procedure. Otherwise, do it this way. So this is the way we're going to do it. So basically what you do is you jack this thing up, and they had a specific type of jack in the manual, but what I've got is a transmission jack, and I've got the little arms poked up on the back side of the well, don't knock it off the lift, Harris. Yeah, I got the car raised a little bit. We don't need it that far. Lower it just a touch. All right, got a 22 on here, and we'll brace it up in the back with a crescent wrench. Am I going to mark the eccentric? I really don't want to, because you got to redo the whole damn car anyway, so why does it matter? I guess I'll do it. Okay, fine. Yeah, that'll work. Let's see how tight these are. Tight enough where I might yank the car off the lift, that's for sure. There you go. Little manual impact action. Only thing good about Chinese wrenches is you can modify them when you need them. They're so cheap you can just cut them up and make all kind of crazy tools out of them. I think I cut that off and made a crow's foot out of it. Now I got 15/16 here. No, it's not a 22 millimeter, but the nut is loose now, so I can get it off easily. Now the next hair-raising step is tapping those bolts out of the control arm. Actually, that one's quite loose. So that means we have the right amount of tension on this affair. Do I feel confident about doing this? Not really. I guess I should mark this one front and the other one rear. Let me do that. And then a slightly milder effort to try to minimize carnage. I do have this strap up here. Not that it would do a whole lot, but I suppose it might do something. Anyway, so you know, you should always use the right tool for the right job, but why did they make the 1/4 inch extensions so convenient to use? I don't even want to put my arms in there. I just don't like this. You just go away, go on the ground. Don't like it. As it gets underneath a car. Now that one's got all the pressure. We need to figure out where we need to apply the pressure. Do we need to go up or down? I don't know which. Down, a slight amount. I heard a little clunk, so I heard a clunk. Let's see what this feels like now. Still a little. I'm trying to hit the sweet spot, you know? Let's go back up quite a bit, actually. I see the entire car being raised. Holy shit, that's nowhere near as free as that one. All right, let me do some head scratching. I'll be back here in a minute. All right, I've been gingerly tapping this bolt here on the back side. The pucker factor's high, people. I've got it past the first flange. Now I've got to get the bolt out of the second flange. The tip of the bolt is into the bushing and away from the first flange. So that means that since this one didn't sag down, it'll be fine. Now the back end of that control arm is being supported by that bolt going into the one side of that support right there. And each time I tap it, it's like more and more difficult. Let me see if I can't get another support under here. I've never done this before. Actually, I've never done it this way before, so you guys have to bear with me. I'm gonna go slowly. Can never be too overly cautious. All right, if you haven't discovered the Extendo Safety Hammer 5000, I highly recommend it. You can get it on my website. These are, I think these are on sale now for $399.99. Yeah, so. Nope. Yep, it's just a piece of wood with some duct tape and a hammer. A cheap Harbor Freight hammer, no doubt. Anyway, I got a ratchet strap over here on this end of the control arm, and I got it cinched down pretty tightly. I just don't want it to move. I don't want anything going fling, you know, and just scaring the hell out of me and giving me a damn heart attack. Because I'm too old for that nonsense. So I'm going to stand way back. I got the 1/4 inch extension sticking in the hole there. And we're going to tap that bolt out. We're going to see what happens. And then we'll make a decision on what we loosen first. Whether we loosen the ratchet strap that I just put on there, or the jack, or what have you. Alright, the trick is, clearly I'm doing this to stand way back here because I don't want to be, you know. If something were to fall, I could just dive on top of the Cadillac and be fine. Every time I tap this, it's probably going to fall out until I get it in far enough. Or I could miss it like that. And like that. And I'm not hitting this thing hard, by the way. It's moving. So, in other words, like if it was a ton of force on this thing, I mean, it would be really, really hard to move. You know what I'm saying? In my mind. The strap is in the way of the bolt right there. So let me get that strap. As he presses on a car that's precariously, there we go. I'm putting the strap behind the eccentric on the bolt. Literally the sketchiest thing I've ever done. But Mercedes said this was the right thing to do, so we're gonna trust them. All right, one thing I didn't think of earlier is this is a transmission jack, and it has adjustments, people. I'm missing the knob on this other side, so I'm gonna take this plate and move it up. I just, I didn't think of it earlier. Because you can see here the control arm is coming down and the end of this bolt is going up. So I want to put 0 pressure on that bolt. Yeah, like when I do this, when I make this side go up, I see that head of that bolt come down like that. There we go. Let's try that. All right, it's loose. I'm going to loosen this strap like that. Now I think we're going to lower the jack. You know what the fun part about this whole thing is? We get to do it a second time on the other side. And keep in mind, holy shit, the car is like up off of the pad now. All right, here we go. Just a minute downward thing. I'm going to go slowly because that's the way I roll. Starting to do the thing. All right, my spring is beginning to elongate. Yeah. I hear some creaking and some cracking. That one's out and this one's still stuck over here. We need to pound that out with a hammer or something, I reckon. There we go. We had to get this side to catch up with the other side because the level of that is not the same as the level of that. Don't you know? All right, pucker factor is slightly negated. Yeah, we got some serious juice on this strap now. So let's ease up on the strap. All right, I can move it with my hand now. Yeah, that strap did its job. It didn't let it come down. We're almost out, folks. The spring is no longer curved, it's now straight. So, yeah, so the spring is now straight. And control arm is completely out of its mounts now. So, easy peasy from here on. All we got to do is let off this little bit of extra tension. Wham! It's still got some juice on it. I think I asked too much of this transmission jack. The legs on it are starting to tilt off to one side. I don't really feel great about it. I might get a different system to do the other side. Alright, so I can move that now. Let's move the strap. Let's get it out of there. The Mercedes manual said use something called what they call a pit lift. I think it's basically something like that. Is what they were calling a pit lift. Hell, I can make a whole video of just doing this. Alright, we're done. Well, no, we've got a little more. We've got one side of the spring is up off the control arm, the other one's still got touching it. So. Alright. Wing, wing. I think we're just stuck in the what do you call it? We're just stuck up in there in that thing, so let's get this out of the way. Actually, this is a pretty good procedure. I just never done it before, and it was really stressful. And that spring is in no danger of falling out. It is stuck in the rubber isolator pad up there. So I don't think I gotta worry about that right now. Instead of farting around with this and taking this apart, I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and do the same procedure on the other side. And if I include that in the video, it will be highly edited and truncated. So this is the most fun I've had in a long time. All right, let's take a break in the action and show you what our good friend Peter out in Kansas sent us to play with. Rebuild an engine with. So, Peter, thank you so much for your special effort to provide us with the tools that we need to properly dive into the heads on our old M117 engine. So, what did Peter send us from all the way from Kansas? First item here is a compensating element checker. I believe this is what this is for. What is a compensating element, you say? Well, apparently this whole affair in here is a compensating element. And basically your valve lash is adjusted through all of this mess right in here. Now this special tool right here is what you use to check that, to make sure that your valve lash is basically correct. I have no idea how to do it. I haven't dove into it just yet. I do know that when you take this mess apart, there's like 20 different parts inside this little area right here. So we have to make a special effort to tag and bag and keep all of that stuff in order. So when we dive into this, pay special attention to these compensating elements here that keep your valve lash set just so on your M117. Next up, we have valve stem seal installation tools. I don't know why I have two of them, Peter. Why did you send two? Oh, wait a minute. No, I think I figured it out. One of them, they're different sizes. Yep. They look like they're different sizes. Maybe ever so slightly, maybe. This one looks bigger. Well, anyway, the part number on this one is 116-589-01-4300, and this one over here is simply 116-0043. So they are, in fact, different. So I'm guessing the hole there is on this one is a little bit bigger, depending upon the type of engine you're working on. So basically, valve stem seal installation tool. The crook in this rod here is, I assume, to get around the camshaft to do the job, and the seal will slip up in there, and you slip it down on the valve and give it a tap, and I'm assuming that's the way it works. I have no idea. I've never used one before. Lastly, we have the valve spring compression tool. On this car, it's quite a challenge to compress the valve springs on this M117 head. So this guy right here, will sit on top of the valve spring, and this hook right here will slip around either side of the cam lobe and pull up on the cam and push down on the valve spring, and that way you can get your valves out of the engine. So anyway, I believe this one is from Bomb Tools. I'm not sure what the part number is. Oh, there it is right there. Bomb Tools 202010 or 202010. I think that's it. Yeah. Anyway, Mercedes valve spring compressor tool. for an M117 and possibly others. But anyway, this right here, this is what you need. Because I tried to buy an El Cheapo off of Amazon. It was a complete disaster, would not work at all. Anyway, these are the tools that are going to help us rebuild the heads on our old Mercedes. We're going to go ahead and set these over there on the staging bench. All right, had a little bit of a change of plans. Let me tell you what we got here. I've been scratching my head and going down the wrong road and making some reassessments. And well, anyway, I've been trying the valve spring compressor tool that we have on loan here. It's a fine tool, but I've come to the realization that I don't think it's going to work for this situation. Let me tell you what I got going on. Let's talk about head bolts first. Okay, where are the head bolts? The head bolts are here. They're here in this clamp. You can see I'm holding the head down gently with not too much pressure to the bench right there. One head bolt there. These head bolts are all along here, right? Where else are there head bolts? They're here. Guess what that is? That's 1/2 of the camshaft bearing assembly. Where are the other head bolts? They're here in the head. They don't go into the bearing caps. So, in order to get the head off of the engine, you have to remove 1/2 of the bolts on the bearing, on the camshaft bearings. What does that leave you? That leaves you with these bearings and the camshaft, and all this stuff is being held onto the head by these bolts right here. If you use this tool, and let's just put it on there. Now, what I'm going to do is, well, I'm not going to do it now, but I'll push down with my hand here to depress the valve spring, and the two arms there pull up on the camshaft. Well, you can see what's going to happen, right? You're going to put an upward force on this side of the bearing assembly. So what you're doing is you're putting a really large amount of force on this side of the bearing assembly. Matter of fact, when I tried to compress this spring earlier, I could see this side of it just moving slightly, and that was extremely disconcerting. So I decided that I would go ahead and remove the camshaft and the bearing assemblies as a whole. Gradually, by just loosening these bolts here a little bit at a time to sort of do it evenly, right? And get the bearings and the camshaft and everything out of the way, removed completely. And then I would use a standard valve spring compressor tool to go ahead and remove the valves. This stuff right here, in order to get the rocker arm out, it's pretty simple really. You just take a little screwdriver and that just slips right off, right? Like that. And this rocker arm, what you have to do is, you can't get it out of there unless you compress the spring a little bit, which you would either do it with that tool, and I did in fact do the first one already with the tool, got it into a little baggie, but I couldn't get the keepers out here because I couldn't compress the spring down far enough because I was worried about, you know, damaging these or breaking these bearing assemblies. We'll just take those clips off. Actually, don't even really have to take those clips off at all. I could just unbolt the bearing assembly and remove the camshaft thing as a whole, and then just go ahead and disassemble everything else. Anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I've been scratching my head on what precisely to do about this, and I've come to the realization that while this is a fine tool, this is specifically designed, in my opinion, to compress the valve springs on the M117 engine while the head is still bolted to the engine. So, am I going to bolt the head back onto the engine? No, I'm not going to do that. Up next, let's go ahead and remove this camshaft assembly. All right, so we've got an 8mm here. Let's go ahead and start loosening these bearing bolts. I had actually loosened them when we were taking the heads off the motor earlier, so they shouldn't be. Yeah, they're, you know, they're just. Got this one here. I got to get a. This one here we had to weld previously, if you recall. Yeah, that one got stripped out on me, so these are gonna tighten, I guess, gradually as I do this. So I have to do it a little bit at a time, and I'm not sure. They seem to be all loose now. Actually, we only have one. This one right here. That, and oh, we have two. We have that one and that one. All the rest of them are off of the, are on the what they call the base circle. So not a huge deal here. We should be able to just, yep, that's loose. That's loose. I feel it popping up, like from that spring pressure. Yeah, see that one tightened up because the spring. See, probably not the optimal way to do it, but you know, it is what it is, folks. And it's not like the cam lobes on those two are like all the way down, you know. So we should be ready to pull this thing. My Rode microphone is basically destroyed now. So hopefully you guys can hear me. Shall I talk into the camera really loudly? I'm not going to do that. I don't guess there's any need to keep these bolts in order. However, everything else needs to be kept in order. And it's just sitting there like a dummy, not moving. Let's see, is there anything else? Probably it's just kind of stuck on the head there. Is there anything else holding this thing down? Well, let's just give it a little whack here. It's aluminum, Harris. Be careful. It's up on this end. Ah, I see. There's dowel pins. Okay. All right, I didn't know that. I learned something. So there's like dowels, hollow dowels that stick up from the head. So let's get ourselves a little, get the universal tool here and see what that does. No, that's pretty stiff. A lot of head scratching going on here. Being really cautious. I don't want to break anything, especially since I don't know what I'm doing. All right, so let's just very gingerly coax these bearings up off of this, up off of those dowels. So we don't want to screw anything up because those I probably already have. Everybody's like, don't do it that way, dumbass. I was trying to figure out where the oil galleries were. Surely they don't come up through where the bolts are. I didn't want to destroy the oil galleries. It's freeing up now. Again, I've never done this before, so if you have experience and you know that I have done this completely wrong or whatever, feel free to chastise me below in the comment section. We're ready to lift her off. Let's see what we got. There we go. There's one camshaft and bearings all in one, including the oiler tubes. Let's see. How does the oil get in there? Ah, I see now. There is one passage on the rear end here. There's an oil gallery right there. There's one at the very end. It goes up through this end bearing and distributes the oil through that tube right there. So, okay, there you go. Let me go ahead and set this on the parts bench over there. I'll be right back. All right, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4 exhausts. You'll note in my baggie, 4 exhausts. So I got the clip and the rocker and the I guess, I'm not sure if this is the compensating element or if I forget what they call it. It's a, I'll have to look it up in the book. I'll probably put some text in the video. I saw it written down. I can't remember what they call it. Anyway, these things right here come in different thicknesses for, you know, adjusting the valve lash and what all. And then, of course, this pivot point back here where the rocker arm sits, this can go up and down too. So there's a lot of adjustment there. Do I know how to do all of it? No. But anyway, so there's your clip that holds that on, and then there's your rocker arm, and then there's your compensating element there. So let me get a baggie for each of these and label it. We're going to have a lot of little baggies for intake, clip, rocker, and spacer. Let's just call it a spacer for now. I can't recall what it was. All right, I'm going to do the same thing and put each one in a bag and get that stuff stored away. I'll be right back. All right, I got the head up on the end here, and this is the standard valve spring compressor tool that most folks are familiar with. You need to get these keepers sort of released from the valve, and there's a very scientific method by which, not really. That one's nice and loose. That one's loose. See, that's stuck basically. So this sound here, that's a solid clunk. That's basically stuck. So now that's loosened up. You'll know. You can tell. So yeah, it's only been sitting up for like 26 years. This is not hurting anything. If you were doing some sort of a revival, you know, and you need to get the engine fired, you'd probably do it this way. So this thing here, you need to adjust it to get the best leverage. So we got to do that. So that's what I'm doing right now, is kind of move these things in and out. If you're up against it and you're like way back here, you don't have a lot of leverage. But if you adjust it so that when you're right up against it, you're like there, you have more leverage. So I'm gonna set it up here and start on an easy one, sort of in the middle where I can get myself around it here. This thing here goes on the end of the valve, and this goes on the valve retainer, which is on top of the spring. All right, been fiddling around with one of the valves here. Where's that one intake? And anyway, I got my head on straight here on how to get these things out of here. And let's go ahead and see if we can get some of these valves out of here. Got to adjust this thing just so. Twist her up from the valve head end there. Got the AC on in the shop here, don't you know? I'm thinking I may replace this T-handle on this valve spring compressor with a nut so I can use my drill. Come on out of there now. These damn springs on this Mercedes may be too much for this spring compressor to handle. Holy cow, man. They're ruining my wrist. Seriously, this thing is, they're stout, man. I ain't lying. Got them loose. This is gonna take forever. There's one. Not sure what's keeping the other one in. Not sure what's keeping the other keeper in there. It's bending off to the side like that. It's putting it in a bind. Let me show you what's going on with this cheap ass valve spring compressor tool. Yeah, it's not supposed to look like that. It's not supposed to warp. All right, I repositioned my compressor on the other side of the head. This may be the way to do it, actually, for this head. Maybe the other way had bad geometry or something. Hell, I don't know. I had geometry in the 10th grade. Did you guys like geometry? I thought it was kind of boring, actually. I do enjoy math, but geometry, all those proofs, that was a real snooze fest. Okay, so we're going to I may have to do it on both sides because it seems to be cockeyed off to that side now. And this thing right here, it's bent now, so I may have to buy another one of these damn things and destroy it too. All right, let's get our bag here. One exhaust, keeper, retainer, spring, and inner spring. I'm going to make an assumption that says there's no up or down on these. I could be wrong. There doesn't appear to be. I'm just not going to worry about it. Valve stem seal. Other funky umbrella seal thingy. It's actually metal and what is that? That's a bearing. It's a bearing. Do valves need bearings? Clearly, I'm going to have to read the book. Boy, that exhaust valve's a fat rascal. Dang, look at that. Look like a hog leg, man, as we say in the South. A little bit of pitting right there on the seat. Nothing we can't clean up though. Alrighty, here we are. Got a El Cheapo OMT Orion Motor Tech valve spring compressor off of Amazon. This is a substantial piece of steel right here. That is like an inch, half an inch or 5/8, and it's nice and heavy. So that's pretty cool. He gave me a dainty little pair of gloves. Let's see what we got here. Let's put this thing together here. Let's see, how does it work? I guess we'll do it like this. I guess one of them's the pusher and the other one is not. I guess that one's the pusher. It's got a little hole in the end of it. So let's figure out which one of these is good to use. The biggest one appears to be perfectly fine. Does it not have threads in it? How do you use this thing? Why is... Oh, it just fits on like that. Oh, it just goes over a little ball. Okay. Alrighty, I get it now. Guess we'll put that on there like that and use one of these other ones for the to press on the valve. Kind of chintzy, but you know, whatever, it is what it is, man. Let's see. Should we spin this end or that end? I don't know. We're just going to give it a shot and see what happens here. Let's put some juice on it. On the tool, that is. There we go. Let's see, is that enough? Don't think so. So I guess I'm just going to do it on both sides. One keeper. I'll do it on this side for this keeper on this side, and then flip this tool around over here and get the keeper on the other side. Because when I do this, these springs are so tough that these tools, and both of them have done this, they sort of bend and they don't depress the spring evenly. So you get a little bit of, you get a bind set up over here, and it's hard to get that keeper out. It's just really a challenge. So I'm going to take this off, move it over here, and try again. Alright, I moved the tool over. I got a better screwy tool using this thing. So, and we didn't need them threads anyway. I guess this keeper just simply is refusing to let loose. There we go. Man, that is tough, man. All right, but the this thing here is good. So, note to self: we're gonna have to put a small chisel or something in there and get those keepers to release. Man, everybody's beeping at me. Let me get this stuff in the baggie, and well, you saw what I'm doing, right? It's going to be kind of a struggle. I'm going to go ahead and finish up this head. All right, we're going to get. It's like the Tasmanian devil trying to talk and make a video. It's just beyond my capability. Right now, we're going to remove the compensating elements. How about that? All right, 24 millimeter on the compensating elements. To get them out of here, according to the manual, you just do it. Look at that. Hey, look at that. There's oil down in there. I didn't know there was oil down in there. Maybe is there an oil passage up through here? I didn't see one. I don't know. There's a lot about this stuff I just don't know. May had to change heart on these compensating elements. Am I going to take that apart? No, I'm not going to take that apart. It looks like it's in 2 or 3 pieces. But yeah, I'm not about to take that apart. In my mind, we should be able to just put that right back in place and not make any adjustments whatsoever. All right, that was one exhaust. Put it in the baggie already. This is one intake. It says that these are supposed to be held in with 60 Newton meters of torque. I'm guessing they use some sort of Loctite or something at the factory, because, wow, they are really in there. Now, I kept the machine, I kept my impact driver on the middle setting. I didn't really give it the full juice, right? I didn't want to go for carnage in case, you know, there was a problem of some sort. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go zip, zip, zip and get the rest of those out of the head. So on the compensating element here, I didn't want to leave you hanging there. So yeah, that's what it looks like pretty much. Anyway, the backside of the rocker arm pivots on that right there. And you can take this right here and you can move it up and down. Okay. And this gauge right here, basically you take this gauge and you set it down on the, this gauge may or may not be for this engine. The verdict's still out on that. It looks like it is for this engine. Anyway, see this little pin right here? And you see that little groove right there next to my fingernail? So when you put this down on here, the pin goes on top of the pivot point for the rocker arm and pushes this. Now this is supposed to be still on the engine, clearly. And if you see the gauge push up, and the idea of this thing is, you want to see that groove in the tool be right there even with this surface, right? This is like 1 to 1.2 millimeters in width there, that groove is. And that's your range, that's your tolerance. So that's kind of the way that works. I didn't really read the book thoroughly on it, but you get the gist of it. All right, one last step. Got these plugs in here. Not sure what those plugs are for, but I don't think they're functional. I think they just fill in like maybe casting holes, or maybe they go into the oil galleries. I don't know what they do. But we're going to pull them out before we take this to the machine shop. So I cleaned, they were full of they were slap full of greasy dirt. If you're doing a Allen like this and it's full of greasy dirt, you want to make sure that your Allen bottoms out. Otherwise, it's not good. And it's dry down in there clearly. Bone dry. Okay. Yeah, duh. Whoops, I dropped the washer. There is a sealing washer. Okay, I know what that's for now. It goes into the coolant passages. I was kind of waiting on that. Looks like we're going to be buying a coolant plug, because this one pretty much stopped moving altogether. I started to make it go back downward, and then it cracked. There's a gaping crack, and then the Allen head stripped out. So yeah, that's awesome. If I can't get that, if I can't get that out, I'll have to replace the head maybe. All right, I'm going to stop. There's no sense in me carrying forward here because I can't get that out of there. I don't have the proper machinery to do that. For whatever reason, this plug here just decided not to play ball. Is what it is. Can't go any further. I'm not going to try to do any more carnage. The one key thing here is you got threads, and then you have a sealing surface here. There is a sealing ring around it, but the threads do most of it. I'm assuming they use some sort of Loctite sealant or something at the factory, because they were in there. Anyway, so I can't get this out of here. I'm going to take this bare head down to the machine shop, and just with my tail tucked between my legs, and just say, and my head hung low, and go, yes, I know, I did this carnage. And please get me out of a pickle. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm done. This head is done. I'm just going to spray it down real good, wrap it up, and I'll go ahead and take the other one apart off camera later on. And at some point here in the near future, we're going to get these heads and that short block rotating assembly down to the machine shop. All right, folks, there you have it. I think I'm going to cut this video off right here. I really kind of wanted to get the subframe assembly out of the car for this video, but this video has been kind of haphazard, disjointed. You know, I'd do some work one weekend for a couple hours, and I'd pick back up and do some more work later on, so on and so forth. I was out of town for work for a while. Took a weekend trip up to North Alabama in the old motorhome, don't you know? So we've been doing a lot of stuff around here. And not to mention the regular job is, well, takes priority. So, that being said, got the bare head here, albeit with one minor wound in it right here. The machine shop they have the proper stuff. They can put this on their drill press, lathe, milling machine or whatever, and they can get that out of there, put some threads in it, and they can put a new plug in it. That won't be a problem. So, and then they'll get these heads cleaned up, and I'll take the bare heads and the motor down to the machine shop here in the near future. Not sure when I'm going to get the heads and the engine down to the shop, possibly by the end of this coming week. I don't know. Tomorrow is the 11th of August, so we'll just see how it goes. I think for the next video we'll concentrate on prepping the engine to take it to the machine shop and removing the subframe assembly out of the front of our old R107, and hopefully start disassembling it and cleaning it and getting it ready to rebuild, because while the engine and heads are at the machine shop, we will basically try to rebuild the front end of the Mercedes. So, alright, that's the plan in general. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, do me a favor and hit the like button. That would really help a whole lot. I appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. I really do. We'll see you in the next one.